Burn the box.
So I'm very happy to be here to share with you my passion for information visualization, for applying the rules of design to information, for making information beautiful. And I don't just mean data and statistics, I also mean issues, ideas, stories, subjects, all the different types of information. And I love taking these elements and making them into beautiful, simple, colorful images that anyone can absorb, all with the minimum of text. As Walter mentioned, I've been in my pit working on a book for a year in which I explore information visualization and have a play with its potential. I've discovered a few things about it, some quite amazing things. When you make information into images, when you visualize it, it allows you to get issues in an instant. And it brings clarity, and it can even open minds and change perspectives. The really cool thing for me as a journalist and a writer is that it also gives me an access to new stories and hidden patterns that are sitting in the data somewhere that you can only see when you visualize this material. And it also looks really cool, and that's what I really love as well. So let me show you some of the images that I've done. I wanted to start by thinking, well, could I make my life beautiful? Could I make the data of my personal work experience look good? So my first image is, that's my book. Okay, a little bit hard to see, but actually maybe I haven't really succeeded in making this beautiful. The colors are a bit... But I wanted to make a point about information visualization. For me, it's a synthesis of many different disciplines. The storytelling and journalism. I was a programmer in my teens, so I learned the beauty of code. I worked online. I've done all those things. But I've only just started designing in the last 4 years, and I've never done a design course. I've never been trained as a designer. I like to learn by doing and failing, mostly. And when I started to design, I discovered something strange. I realized I already knew how to design. Somehow I'd absorbed the rules and the nous and the ideas of design through being exposed to different media, through advertising, video games, online, and especially web. Web really has influenced my sense of design. And I don't actually think I'm unique in this sense. I think we're all the same. I think every day we're tuning into a visual design medium, and it's turning us all into visualizers. It's making us all visually literate. We all expect now our information to look good, to conform to the rules of design, to be colorful and interesting looking. And for me, and it may be the same for you, I even find written text and written information, squeezed into paragraphs and columns and having to read it a bit bland. It's a bit like watching black and white TV or something. So we're all visualizers now, and at the same time, we're lost in a sea of information. We're overloaded by information. I don't know about you, but I can't stay on top of the information that I need to ingest to get by. But at the same time, I love it. I really want it. I want to be informed. I want to know what's going on. So I find myself in a postmodern predicament where I'm being overwhelmed by the thing I can't get enough of. And I think a solution to this predicament might be to use our eyes more. This is a little visualization based on the work of the Danish physicist Tor Nordstranders. Now, he's calculated the bandwidth of the brain as information enters your senses every second. The blue portion here is your sight, which is about the speed of an office network, 1.2 gigs per second. The next sense is touch, which is about the bandwidth of a USB key. The next senses down, hearing and smell. They're old school senses, only about the speed of a modem. And then finally in the corner, the last one there, the purple one, is taste, which has barely the throughput of a pocket calculator, unless you're in the dark doing something intimate. Now, that little white dot in the corner, if you can see that, that's the amount of information you're actually aware of out of this constant stream that's coming in. 0.017% of your awareness is actually noticed. But the bulk of it remains vision, sight. Your eyes are really important. Your eyes can perceive all kinds of spatial and visual relationships before you start thinking, before you start conceiving. And then when the text and the ideas come in, those images still reside, and they form the context. They enhance your understanding. Visualizing things enhances your understanding. But it also has another effect. Seeing information, seeing itself is effortless. The information literally pours in. So in an information overload type environment, being able to see information is like a relief. It's something you can just kind of relax into, rather than be frenetically trying to understand or scraping around. So it's something you can drink, essentially. Information becomes something pleasurable to drink. So I have some more images to show you, and we can drink them in. Okay, this image is called, I hope you can see some of the detail, I will point it out. This image is called the $1 billion ogram. And it arose out of my personal frustration with the reporting of $1 billion amounts in media, which it's annoying because they're always reported as self-evident facts. This pipeline costs $35 billion, this war costs $500 billion. It doesn't mean anything. Beyond $1 billion, but even maybe beyond $1 million, it's a sort of mind-boggling amount. You can't relate to it. So here I scraped all the numbers I could find off various newspapers, and I translated them into visual spaces and just put them alongside each other so you can immediately get a sense of a visual context for these numbers. There in the top right, the purple box. Oh, I should say that the colors are related to the intention behind the money. Purple is fighting, red is giving away, green is spending. So the purple box in the corner, that's the Iraq War. Estimated total cost, $3,000 billion. In the left, a little corner there, to feed every child in the world, $54 billion. And then I quite like this. OPEC's earnings, these figures are from 2006 actually, OPEC's earnings, $520 billion, and that little red pixel in the corner, $3 billion, that's the climate change fund. And immediately you can see, by seeing these things, you can start exploring it yourself visually. You can begin to relate to it. You can have a different relationship. You're not so abstracted or distant from this information. It's come alive a little bit. You might even start getting upset or angry. And then you can also add to it. So I'm curious, how much of this diagram do you think might be occupied by Africa's debt to the West? Shall we see? There. That is $200 billion. That's how much that Africa owes to the West in debt, which is less than Americans give to charity every year, which is $300 billion, so $200 billion. And the current financial crisis, how much might that eventually cost Western governments? How much of that diagram do you think they might occupy? Should we see? There we go. $7,800 billion. So what I love about this approach to numbers is that you can apply it to anything: local spending, your own personal finances, healthcare spending. Here I've applied it to the UK government. I won't go into the detail of this, but what I wanted to emphasize is the budget deficit that the UK government faces, £175 billion, which is a huge black hole in the finances. It's actually more than we earn a year from income tax. So we're going to be dealing with that for years to come. But I could tell you all these figures, but when I visualize them, you can just see them for yourself. That image arose out of frustration. This one arose out of curiosity. There's a little pattern here, and I wonder if you might be able to guess what it is. What rises to a peak in spring, flattens out in summer, and then rises to a massive crescendo 2 weeks before Christmas? Any ideas? Seals? Spending. Let's see, shall we? Next. Yep. These are the most common breakup times. A designer and myself, Lee Byron, we scraped 10,000 Facebook status updates for the phrase breakup or broken up, and then we plotted them on this chart, and you can see that the frequencies You've got a minor peak on Valentine's Day as boyfriends around the country failed to book the restaurant. Spring break, spring clean, April Fool's Day, a little minor peak. Mondays seem to be regular occurrences. I'm imagining people breaking up at the weekend, and then, I mean, these are public announcements of breakups. They may not coincide exactly. Summer holidays, a little clear out before then. Then there's a flat plateau. And then 2 weeks before Christmas, this massive crescendo of breakups. And the lowest day of the year is, of course, Christmas Day. Who would be so cruel? Back. Can we go back? Okay. I just want to say something about this. This information is just out there in the sea. It's just sitting there. There's loads of this stuff being generated every day, and it's about asking the right question. If you ask the right question of the data, often it will reveal itself. And this data is enormously pleasurable, for me anyway, to paint with. Here's another image. Now, again, this is detailed, but I will zoom in. This is Zeitgeist. Google Zeitgeist is the top search terms around the world. This is Zeitgeist from Europe, 2006 and 2008, and you'll see how the landscape has changed radically. In 2006, the TV reality show Big Brother was massive in the UK. Page Jaune was a great service being used in France, and I think Juventus were the leading Italian football team. Now, just moving 2 years on, and the landscape has completely changed. The BBC now dominates broadcasting in the UK. YouTube is overwhelming French culture, and Roma has triumphed over Juve in the leagues. And there's still quite a lot of variety in Europe here in search terms, and even despite the language barriers. But if you look at the United Search Terms of America, you'll see a bit less variety. MySpace, games, and lyrics are the top search terms all across America, apart from a small area of weather up in the north of the country where there's some concern about that. So it's fun to play with. And I want to say, when I create these images, I'm not paying for any of this data. It's out there completely free. It's a natural resource. It's a mineral resource for us all to use. I'm not doing anything special. You can do it as well. And I would urge you, actually, at this point, if you're sitting on any data in your organization or in your company, give it away. Let us have it. Well, let me have it, but maybe share it with some other people as well. But free it up, because it's raw materials that can be done. Anything creative can be done with it, and there's all kinds of things that you can spot in this data that can be revealing. And that's kind of really what excites me the most, are the unexpected things that happen when you start playing with this data. So let me just show you some of those. This is a project I did for my book. It's called Snake Oil, where I've taken all the dietary supplements you can take, health supplements, vitamin C, goji berries, all that kind of stuff. And I've reviewed the evidence for it all. So this image is a balloon race. So the higher up the image, the more evidence there is for a given supplement. I'll zoom in a second. And the size of the bubbles corresponds to the popularity online as according to Google hits. Now, this was a huge amount of work. We went through PubMed, which is a database, free, open, 16 million studies, and we searched it all. We pulled out 3,000 studies for all the dietary supplements. We reviewed and rated all the evidence, and then it results in this. And that allows us to draw a line in the middle. That line is the worth it line. So anything above that line has substantial evidence for efficacy. So all those things are worth investigating, in my opinion, or worth looking at. And the ones below the line have no or little evidence for them at all. And you'll see some quite popular supplements there that are really not backed up by science at all. Now, what the unexpected thing about this is, apart from we didn't know how it was going to look, is that the huge amount of information has been squeezed. It's been compressed visually into just 2 pages. So visualizing information could be a form of compression, visual compression. It could be the MP3 of knowledge, if you like. And it's actually personally frustrating for me that I had this capacity, because I spent a month doing this, and I had 6 months to create a 256-page book of information visualizations. And a month in, I'd only created 2 pages. It's just very annoying. Now, and that's an unexpected thing. Another unexpected thing I really love, and this is chiming, as I said before, with my journalistic part of me and the bit that wants to kind of find the stories, is this image. Not this one, this one. This is a timeline of media scare stories, or stories that I feel have been inflamed by media attention. It runs from 2001 to 2009. On the right-hand side, that vast peak, that's swine flu. This was created with Google Insights tool, which allows you to track the intensity of keywords over time, so how frequently these words have been searched for or used in media. Swine flu, as you can see, the massive peak on the right. Millennium bug is your little peak, your little grey thing. Bird flu, which was a common, big flare-up, and then SARS is this sort of orange one around about 2003. Now, I love this image. It's just, you look at it and it abstracts it a little bit, and it makes you feel maybe a little bit relaxed that some of this stuff isn't so serious and so scary. But when I was visualizing this data, I found an interesting pattern. Let me just show it to you. Okay, I want to highlight this for you. This is violent video games. This is the concern about violent video games as it rises and falls through the years. Now, you see there's an interesting pattern in this data. It has a particular shape. It has 2 peaks per year. See, in each repeating down. And if you look at where those peaks occur, they appear in the same months every year, November and April, November and April, November and April. Why? Well, November, you can imagine, Christmas video games coming out, so perhaps there's a bit of concern about their content. But April, what has April got to do with video games? Well, again, if you inquire and track back, you discover that April 1999 was the month of the Columbine massacre. And since then, that event has been repeating through the group mind, if you like, and echoing down and diminishing a little bit, but appearing every April, it resurges as a new concern. Now, as I was preparing this slide, in fact, I've been staring at this image for a year and I hadn't noticed this. I was preparing this slide. You see the gap? There's a gap. There's 3 peaks and then a gap. And I was annoyed and I thought, well, this is going to break my theory. But then I looked closer. Where is that gap occurring? And you see it starts in late 2001. And it's one that affects all the scare stories pretty much. If we just skip to the next slide. And I suppose in late 2001, the world had something actually properly scary to worry about. So that was an unexpected pattern that I found in the data. If we could just move to the next slide. And so I find it really exciting to be involved in this. Oh, sorry. Can we put all right, well, I can talk about this. It's exciting because when visualized information works, it's just very simple and it just says what it is. And even the beauty of clarity can be beautiful even when the information is sort of terrible, like this image. It's over 30 years. And an information visualization can be as simple as that, or it can be as complex as this. This is a concept map of the left and right political spectrum as it percolates from government down into society and culture, family, individuals, and then back round up again. And what I love about this image is it forces you to entertain multiple conflicting perspectives simultaneously. It screws with your head, and it screws with my head as well, creating it, because I'm a kind of left-leaning, sort of TED-speaking liberal kind of person. As I create this image, I wanted to unconsciously put my political view across, but I couldn't, because when you're visualizing information, if you give undue emphasis to a particular side, or you miss a perspective out, you've got a kind of broken image, you've got a failed design. So that's what I love about information visualization, is it forces you to literally see what other people think and to hold other viewpoints joyously rather than threateningly. And that, I believe, is beautiful. Thank you.